Alright, this is Andrew with Joda Home Inspections. We are doing a sewer scope here in Salt Lake. Today is October 30th, 2025. We're at 3582 East Heughs Canyon Circle. We have the camera pushed out 105 feet to the city connection, and that's the line that you're seeing on the screen now. Now we're going to pull it back and record it and see what we find. So this first connection point is called the nose-on. That's where it goes from your lateral line into the main city line. Looks like it's a gravel cement nose-on. Little tiny offset right there where the pipe is slipped a tiny bit, and so you can see that shoulder both on the right and the left-hand side. Not a very big one, but just I'm going to point it out as an example. That's a spot where waste could potentially get stuck, and if enough waste gets stuck, it could create a blockage. But that's a pretty small offset, but that's an example of one of the things I'm looking for. And right off the bat, we're going to see a little bit of standing water. So starting at about 103 feet. 4, 5. Not incredibly long. About 5 feet long, you have some standing water. Just enough that it covers my camera head. And we're not running water right now. This is water that's stuck in the line because you have a little bit of bad grade, or a belly. The longer a belly is, the more concerning it is. 5 feet is not incredibly long, but it is enough that it covers my camera head. That's a spot where grease is more likely to collect and settle, and it can get real sticky, and waste can then stick to that. And if enough waste gets stuck, it can create a blockage where it backs up towards the house. So good news is it's not incredibly long, and so it's less likely for that to happen, but it's still not ideal in either case. And the only way to permanently fix a belly is to dig it up and re-slope it. And since that one is right before it drops into the city line, there's a good chance that's under asphalt out in the street. And so that would be a tough one to get to. A little bit of cast iron. Trying to see the top of the pipe. Usually when you have a little section of cast iron like that, that's because you have a clean out. And so probably somewhere outside you have another access point. Cast iron gets real rough and rusty. It can eventually need to be replaced. It looks like you have a little bit of an offset right before it drops into that, or right before it drops back into that plastic. And so you can see how the water's pooling right there. That's another spot where waste would be a little more likely to get stuck. It's always a good sign when we're not seeing waste stuck on it today. This is looking good. Plastic, really not much buildup, no standing water. I've not seen any roots. This is looking how you want it to. Now we're transitioning to ABS, which is a different type of plastic. ABS is what was used in and under the house. One issue with ABS is that the glued joints have more of a tendency of separating and leaking, less so than PVC. And I did find a couple spots here where you did have some corrosion, which indicates that it's already leaked. And then the corrosion kind of builds up and self-heals the leak, but it's not actually fixed. And so I'd recommend repairing those corroded spots so it doesn't turn into another leak. I think the one that was worst was there's a long unfinished storage closet in the basement in the ceiling. I have photos of it in the report, but that's a spot that you want to repair. Overall, it looks like the line's performing the way that you want it to be. You do have that belly 5 or 6 feet long, so not incredibly long, but not ideal, and it's likely under the road, which would make it more costly to repair. I'm going to end this recording now.